Good morning and welcome to today's live show. We're going to be doing some technical analysis, having a good time, making sure to pay attention to the signals because we could have some major things happening. Volatility trying to turn up on the daily scale means we might need to pay a little bit of attention. So if this is going to turn up, first of all, we need that signal to confirm, and we have to pay attention to what's going on in the SPY. Right now, the SPY is showing some weakness, I would say, this morning, just a little bit. We can go into a 30-minute chart here, really zoom in on this and see if that 30-minute can turn up by the end of the day. That might be a little signal to pay attention to, even though we have some big divergence across all of this. Good morning, people. How we doing? Hold on one second. I gotta check something real quick. All right, sorry, we're back. Let's look at Meta then. Let's go look over at Meta. I do have the other charts up on my other screen, making sure something's going on here, but for the... Oh, whoops, something's up over here. What I wanted to pay attention to with Meta is the fact that it's just gone up for a long time. You do have a 30-minute divergence here, meaning that the 2-hour can roll over. We got that to turn back up on the 30 minutes. So the key thing here is, does that 30-minute give you a solid crossing down? Does that give you a solid crossing down? That tells you that this 2-hour can reach down a little bit lower. That's the main thing to pay attention to with Meta. I probably should have mentioned this in the video last night going into a shorter time frame. I was just trying to get the info out pretty much as quickly as possible, but we could see that if this 30-minute turned down, where is it? It's really close to that center line. That has a chance to pull back further, right? You would say something around maybe a weekly expected move. Well, you can get the weekly expected moves over on Patreon. Those were posted last night, and I can even check on my other screen right now and just look at Meta real quick and just see, okay, if this is going to turn down, exactly how low would that thing go? And it looks like you have about almost 20 points to the downside. So you do have a chance to hit about 20 points lower than where you're at now. So it's a time to pay just a little bit of attention. And then what would that do? Well, if that came down into these type of areas, maybe fill a gap or something like that, 2-hour could be right by that center line. So we'll see if that 2-hour can rotate back up. But I would really be paying attention to if, you know, with these type of trades, with a little 30-minute turning down, I'd still be keeping my eye on the dollar, on volatility, right? See if that thing can rotate back down. If that can rotate back down, that's a good sign. But right now, you might just be going through a 30-minute pullback because that is very positive for volatility. So you could have Meta hold up for a little bit, but let's see if that thing ends up crossing down overall. So right now, you would say on the 30-minute chart, on the shortest time frame, what should you expect? Positivity until that crosses. So it doesn't mean you can't find a play in this. It doesn't mean we can't do this, fall back down, see volatility turn up. It's just you have some things to pay attention to. It might mean just like be patient for a little bit this morning. Make sure to wait for the signals and then manage the trade, right? Manage the trade because we don't know what's going to happen with the port strike. We also don't know what Jerome Powell is going to say here in about 4 hours. So Jerome Powell is coming out to talk in about 4 hours. We got to see what he's going to say. I have no idea. He is talking at the, oh, I looked it up this morning. Gosh dang it. It's like the NEBA or something like that. He's giving like economic outlook at an event. That's pretty much how I see it. All right, Meta's starting to pop up there. The good part about Meta too is if it curls up, say like on I don't know, maybe it's an hourly. Let's look at an hourly. Yeah, see if this hourly does curl up, you notice we made the major divergence on the hourly here. What if that just pops up for a second? What if that pops up for a second like this, and then you see another signal? That's why it kind of pays to be a little bit patient, just because that 30-minute is overall positive. Does that make sense? Good morning, everyone. Let me know if, I just thought I might play some little copyright-free tunes this morning. So, if you can hear them, they're on there. See, Meta wanting to curl up. So the most likely thing was positivity from this look here. See the rejection, the little fake out? So you just got to be a little patient. Dig it, though. SPY trying to drop down, trying to hold back up now. All right. Let's check out what is happening with the dollar. That's going to be a key thing to watch. Remember, we have a bunch of little divergences. I grew up in Raleigh, North Carolina, but live near Seattle. I used to vacation near Raleigh all the time. I actually think, what is it, Raleigh, and we went to the beach city that's nearby there. It is beautiful. I loved it. I love the houses there, so it is unfortunate. It is nice to hear that at least a politician is kind of reacting, and I believe that Donald Trump actually sent $25 million in aid down there from his own pocket, which is really, really cool. I like to see that. And I think more people in that type of position with that amount of money should do that. It's like, these are people that really need help. And it is a beautiful place. So it is unfortunate. Yeah, just let me know about the music. I'm down to keep it on there. I just want to make sure it's not annoying anyone. It's not too loud or anything like that. So I want you guys to be focused for your trading. I like to listen to a little bit of tunes in between. Like, isn't Bill Gates really about, like, the whole climate change thing? Wouldn't he want to give aid to those places? I don't know. I'm just spitting out things here, but it's just something I was asking myself. I'm always reading about these bad things that happen. I never see the people who are really talking about climate change, like, helping in any way, like with rebuild, with anything, with aid. Just kind of interesting to me. I wish I could help. And I know people that live there too. Raleigh. Asheville got wiped out with floods. Is Asheville the city that I'm seeing all the pictures of, by the way? Also, I'm just going to leave it on the SPY. I'm going to click through and see if I see anything on my other charts real quick, just to mention anything while you guys are chatting. SPY, not a ton, running into the monthly expected move, right? No, monthly expected move a little bit higher. Why do I have that adjusted? Funny. 579.20. Why is this off? 579.20, 579.20. That's weird. Little higher up, little higher up. You still holding that little reversal signal. We'll see if that can turn back around. Apple making the good move, actually. Did you guys notice Apple making that good move? Able to turn up this 2 hour. This would say that positivity is the most likely option. Obviously, at all times, you want to be paying attention to how they can be tricking you, right? This looks very, very clean. This looks like a pretty good cup with a handle. So that's something we have to really pay attention to, is the fact that this looks really, really good. And if it's not a fake out, that could be beneficial. If it is a fake out, we want to make sure to react to that signal. It doesn't mean that this is a bad thing overall, right? I can pull up my charts over here. I see a little bit more upside, but if it's going to happen this early on in the week, that's the problem. Because if we're going to go up past something like these highs, right? If we're going to go up past these highs and see that breakout moment, I'd be a little bit cautious with that because we have a weekly expected move there. Now, you can see something crazy. This is kind of a crazy signal, right? It's a very, very good structure in here. We went down into that buy zone again, right? We turned this resistance in here. If I pull it across, you can see it. A little bit of bundle here, resistance, resistance, break through it, use it as support, head higher, break through it, resistance, 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 gap above it. Now we're using it as support. It's fantastic. It's really good behavior, actually. Like, this is how you want reactions around that zone. But we need to pay attention, because if it does go up and hit like 235, 236, early on in the week, that can be a little bit troublesome. So just be a little cautious with Apple. Even though this looks fantastic, doesn't mean you can't take a play. Just make sure we're managing the trades, right? As we look over to Tesla, still paying attention to this. This one looked like, hey, this could be a short opportunity, right? We saw the possible short opportunity, and then all of that's violated, right? We get violated 10 different times here. So no real thing to look at here with Tesla besides the monthly scale. Really surprised to see this in this environment. So that's kind of crazy to me that this is getting a monthly breakout. That's saying that Tesla might be a good investment for the next 12 months, and that's kind of wild. So at this moment, we can see for this week, the best thing that Tesla could do as it does approach these highs is maybe get that handle, right? Get some kind of handle. That would be fantastic, I think. Let's go look at, and I want to check on the monthly for Tesla. 240.44. We're above the monthly too. All right. Amazon's one to keep a little bit of an eye on for that daily to cross over. If you recall, the 2-hour divergence here does matter. It's kind of flat, right? It's just a little bit flat here for the RSI, but it's downward for the MACD. This, pay attention if that 2-hour rotates up. Okay, not going to be a downfall, but if the daily starts to roll down, that's going to be a big problem. And look how close that is to rolling down. So I'd just be paying close attention to Amazon. If you do head down towards that breakout area, actually, if we head down towards the breakout area, that will be a key level, okay? So this is going to be the key level for this week if we head down somewhere around this area where we really broke above that high, right? We broke out, we broke through this breakdown area, lined up, and now it became a breakout area. So this area is going to be relatively important. Let me just keep clicking through and looking. Tesla, or I'm sorry, not Tesla, NVIDIA giving that reversal signal. We got to see if that daily can cross. That's going to be a big deal. We have not reached a weekly expected move. Obviously, it's very early on in the week, but this is what we were looking for from NVIDIA, wasn't it? We were like, okay, yeah, it seems like we're always, pretty spot on. We're just, we see weirdness in NVIDIA. So with NVIDIA, we're like spot on, but we always see a weird moment. Very good little breakout here, though. Now you're getting a retest of that area again. The only thing I'd be aware of is if you do react down to this level and you get some kind of bounce, right, because you do have divergence here, this is how I would overall see it breaking down. So really coming down, testing that neckline, getting that right shoulder, rejecting off of the previous buy, which is obviously a sell area. We got overzealous, so if you can break back down, it could become a sell area again. That's kind of how I see it for NVIDIA. But the main thing's going to be you have a 2-hour divergence, so what do I need to watch? Well, if that daily scale rolls over, then bad things are going to happen, right? Keeping it real simple. AMD was a little bit different, right? AMD was more so, it tried to have the same signals, but it was pretty bullish. I'm not going to lie. This is a great move. You kind of have divergence, but really this is just a nice little breakout. We'll see if it can get a retest and turn back up. Right now, the most likely thing for AMD is a 2-hour pullback. Meta, we already went over that a little bit. I'd just really be watching, seeing if an hourly can turn up. I think you have a chance for a little bit of positivity, but it's really not doing anything. Seems like a lot of stocks just kind of sitting. Microsoft, let's go look at that for once. Okay, one thing with Microsoft is we got to pay attention if this is a potential double bottom, because you see that hourly chart. Let's clean it up, look at a 30-minute. As we look at a 30-minute, you're going to see, oh, some wonkiness in here. But if that would turn around, wouldn't that be divergence? So I think the hourly looks a little bit smoother, but 30-minute, if that curls up, you got a good shot to curl up the 2-hour. The 2-hour has been turning down for a long time, so you might be in a spot where Microsoft says, hey, I'm going to bounce from here. If those signals can curl back up, means react, and then we want to make sure to manage our trades. Google, let's go check on that for a second, because you have a pretty steep 2-hour divergence if you're able to cross here. You're not really seeing that good of positivity with this cross up, and I think that's a big problem. So as we go look at Google, maybe you want to clean this up with like going down a time frame, right? Go into the hourly and just see how that is down. If that hourly crosses, it means, this 2-hour can cross, the 4-hour can cross down, and that could just be a 4-hour pullback, but if the daily starts to cross, look where you're at, you're in negative territory. So even with the flat divergence and no divergence on the RSI, this might be all the bounce you're going to get. Obviously, you can see the structure to head higher is you get up to this area, you kind of scoop down like this, scoop down like this, left head, right shoulder. I think that would be a good look for Google to be bullish. So there's always a way up, there's always a way down. AMC seeing a little bit of positivity, just up 0.89 this morning. Obviously, the main thing you're paying attention to is daily momentum. If you want a strong move, you need a strong time frame, and that's going to be the daily momentum. Then for GameStop, the main thing I believe was a 2-hour or a 1-hour turning up to break through that 2480. That's right, and something you need to know. These levels are really, really close, right? They're much lower than usual. AMC, we've seen that thing get above $5 multiple times, right? Tons and tons of times, right? We're above $5, we're above $5, we're above $5, we spike above, and where's the level you need to watch? Well, 504, so it's really close. Pay attention if that daily turns up. For GameStop, I believe the 2-hour is what I was talking about. I like 2-hour charts. I think that they have a good amount of strength in them for a solid move. So if I want a solid move to break through 2480, I'm probably going to need that 2-hour to rotate back up. I think that's kind of a big deal. So that's something I'm looking at. If you want to go a little deeper, you could say hourly. Look how nice that looks. That looks pretty good for the hourly. You do have some little forms of divergence here that say, hey, we could go a little lower, but since that's so high up on the MACD, and mainly it's just on the RSI, it was so high up on the MACD that pullback was the most likely scenario, pulling back with time, see if that thing can cross up. Let's go pay attention to some Palantir. I wanted to look at Palantir because of the 2-hour. The 2-hour here for Palantir is showing some major weakness, honestly. You're just seeing a pretty much straight down move from your RSI, MACD just flushing, but was this really, really close to the center line? Well, it is now, but at the time it wasn't. So if this keeps holding in this area, you can just cross up and see another upward move, right? We don't want to get too bullish, too bearish. Yeah, looks pretty good actually for Palantir. I kind of like that look. Now, this is one thing that was really worrying me, okay? The Dow has been telling us when to pay attention for some weakness out there, and you do have a pretty significant 2-hour divergence. And then the thing I'm going to talk about here as well is the 4-hour confirmed another divergence. You have multiple point divergence here, if not triple divergence. You do see this high point on your MACD. Where is the next curl up? Ooh, it's low as hell. Where's the next curl up? It's even lower. So you might even have triple divergence. I would say it leaning more towards multiple point, all right? But if you just take a line and you go, okay, this is higher up, this is flat. So triple divergence might be there. That means I have to pay attention because the Dow on the 4-hour is telling me there could be some major weakness. If that leaks into the daily scale, well, we have these same divergences here for the daily scale, even flat all the way across your MACD. So the Dow, I'm just going to be honest with you. When the Dow has this look, it says to me, hey, this might be actually it says this has a high probability of being a bigger top, right? Now, bigger top, what does that mean? Well, we can just react down to these levels. We always want to pay attention to curl ups, but because there's divergence, I just want to make sure that nothing horrible is happening, right? We're not going into a negative trend, but the Dow's really good at giving us those signals, so I'd be paying attention to it. Dollar's one thing we got to see if that thing is going to turn up. Remember, I think it was the 4-hour chart is the main one here. The 4-hour turns up. I guess the way we said it was first the 2-hour. 2-hour turns up. Okay, now we pay attention to the 4-hour. So if this 2-hour turns up in the next hour and 10 minutes, then you want to pull over to that 4-hour and be like, all right, now we got to see if you're turning up. There's a lot of people flying into cash if that happens. Another note, I see Mara down 4%. What's going on over with Bitcoin, guys? What is going on over here? Pretty interesting, right? We see the 4-hour divergence very, very steep. Okay, very steep for your MACD, not very steep for your RSI. You're kind of, keeping this pretty level towards those overbought areas. This is what you would want to happen. This is what you would want to happen. You break through a high, come retest the general area, come retest in our buy zone, see if that can curl back up. It might not be game over for Bitcoin, but when you know that it's going to be a little worrisome for Bitcoin is when that daily crosses. And as this thing has headed up for a long time, maybe it does need some kind of consolidation in this area to grab those buyers. Maybe it needs to pull back a little bit deeper. I'll have to look at this a little bit further just because I feel like there's structure here and I'm just not making it out in real time here. Unfortunate. Brain's not wanting to look at it. So yeah, now we pretty much ran through almost everything, and now we can just sit and make sure to pay attention to our signals. We have a big daily move, so maybe that speech will mean more than we think. Yeah, Jerome Powell does talk today about 2 hours before the close. He is talking about the economic outlook at some thing, you know. I could look it up again. I just looked it up and I forgot because I'm like, okay, I just need to know what he's talking about. Check gold. Gold is one that I actually wanted to check because gold showing some major reversals for the 30-minute. You see how spiky this is. I want you to see this. That is downward. I know that the divergence starts kind of over here, but look at this right now. Boom. You see that on the RSI? Boom. That's when you pay attention. All right. Oh, JPM. I think you said Jerome Powell. I'm sorry, Slot Machine. I'll look at it. So this is when you want to pay attention, right? When you start to see this and this at the same time, all right? And we do have it all the way back here, meaning if I go into a 2 hour, I'm probably going to see that divergence again. Now, it's not on the MACD, but it is on the RSI just a little bit. So this means this could be an ugly signal. Right now, it leans towards a 2 hour pullback. Right, 30-minute can reverse that trend. We could see a bigger 2 hour pullback. Maybe we head to higher levels with the 2 hour curl up, but I'd be paying attention to if the daily scale crosses, you might be in a daily pullback. Where would gold most likely react to in a daily pullback? I would say right here, 239, or all the way down here towards 232, 233. That's what I was saying, Sid. You guys want to know what's funny? Over the weekend, and don't worry, Slot Machine, I'm going to check out JP Morgan. We're just going to click over to that while I chat. Something really, really funny was, I was like, I feel like I told my wife, I go, the signals really look like volatility wants to turn up for some reason. We still have the crash signal. And she just goes, oh, you haven't heard about the port strike? And I go, I haven't heard about what port strike? And she goes, the port strike. She goes, like, all the people at the port that control the ports are going to go on strike like next Tuesday. And I was just like, what the hell? And then I go, wait, like port workers, like oil, like pretty much all imports? And she just goes, yeah. And I go, so we're going to see supply chain issues, most likely, that leads to more inflation? She goes, I mean, I guess if that's how you see it. I'm just like, what are we, what? I was just like, I was surprised, and I go, I have to talk about this. I go, I don't know how I didn't know about this. I don't know how no one in the mainstream media was. I saw some articles on it, but I was just like, oh my goodness. Daily expected moves for the SPY and the Qs will be on YouTube. So if you want, you can go to the, anytime throughout the video, just click around. You'll find the SPY when we're on it. I give those completely for free, Christopher, on YouTube for the SPY and the Qs. The daily ranges you can only make for the individual stocks on Friday. So you will get those on Friday. Hi, I'm taking your course. Thanks. Could you check out Oracle? Yes, we can check out Oracle. Let me get through JP Morgan here for Slot Machine. Right now, daily pull up is really a good thing, but doesn't this look like a solid look for an ABC pattern? So what we want to see is, we want that daily to curl up if you want to see positivity, right? So do we have a signal that says this can curl up? Well, the first thing I want to do is go look at a 2 hour. I know that 2 hour moves can really dictate if that daily is going to curl up. So one thing I'd be paying attention to here is, we're just going to go over the shorter time frame first. 2 hour to turn up, right, in positive territory. If that happens, you're not overbought by any means. You can see a strong move here. This is where it would pay to have that course, right? You're taking the course down there. Who just said that? NF. Taking the course, able to learn, looking at Oracle. I get it. But for JP Morgan, you could make a range for this week, and maybe that range is all the way up here, and you see a move like this if this would curl up. That would overall, I think, be the bullish scenario here. This is just a fake out. You curl up on a 2 hour, you break through these levels. The other thing I'd pay attention to is a 4 hour. Look at that 4 hour. Look how bad that looks. Look how bad that looks. And the swing trade signals are already saying this should head down. Okay, so right now, this is not a bullish look for the time being, right? The time being, it says, hey, if that 2 hour curls up, it can be bullish. If this 4 hour rejects, it can be bullish. But if you just end up going like that and closing down in this area, it's saying, hey, I might go make a divergence. That's where it pays to have the range for something like JP Morgan. You could probably get away with making a range this morning, and it would probably be okay if you use the method that I teach in the course down in the description for the Using Indicators course for $100. That would be a good thing probably still to even do at this moment since it's early on in the week. It won't be exact levels because the data's been messed with, right? Options have changed. This data has been taken into consideration. So if you do make a range, say right now, use this as your middle point. That's just a tip. Use this as your middle point right now, okay? Because if you use this as your middle point, then the calculation technically won't be correct because you have seen some price action. But it's early enough in the week, I think you could get away with it. So, to summarize, 4 hour curls down, bad things, but what if we go make some kind of divergence? That's when that daily can turn around, so that's when I will be paying attention. The 2 hour curls up early on though, right? This 2 hour just starts to go whoop like that. Well, then we might see another move higher up to about, I would say 218. I think 218 if you can break through these levels. All right, let's check on Oracle for NF real quick, okay? Thank you so much for being patient, guys. I really want to put some effort into this analysis. I think that it's important that I go through kind of how I'm thinking into things, okay? So I do appreciate you guys being patient in the chat when you're asking to see something. Christina, don't you worry. Not only do I love your photography that I've never seen, but I would love to check out DJT for you. Right now for Oracle, it looks like this. If we want to keep it simple, do we have reversal signals? Oops. Do we have reversal signals on the daily? Right here. Do we have reversal signals here? No. We have a pullback signal saying, hey, if this crosses, right, we're ready to react. We're thinking into the future just a little bit, maybe a day in advance. But if that would cross down, you could consolidate down to the 20. You could see a big move down to this gap support, right? And then turn back up. These levels can be used as support. The overall thing I would think, though, is it never really retested this level after getting rejected from it, rejected from it, rejected from it, rejected from it. So I think there's a little box right in here that I would draw for myself, right? If I wanted to, I would just go like this, create a little rectangle, take the absolute high, actually. I would take this high right here, take those lows where we found support, and just say, boom, right there. That zone would be fantastic. You'd get this to dip down a little bit, right? Dip down dramatically, get really close to that center line. See it crossing right now. Needs to hold by the end of the day. You still got 6 hours left, but that would be a fantastic setup, right? We really spike down and curl back up. That would be great. I don't know if it makes it all the way down there. I just like to pay attention to something that can be a great trade, right? I'm not saying it has to happen. Pretty much all I'm paying attention to is anytime this curls back up. If that goes like this and curls back up, awesome. Swing trade. Perfect. We have a course down in the description, 90% off. It's $50 right now to learn how to swing trade. For $150, you can literally learn how to trade and really become a good trader. Swing trading and using technical indicators for a little bit more complex, but a good option strategy. All right, let's pop over to DJT. Actually, let me look at some shorter time frames for you here. As you go into a 2 hour, something key here is that 2 hour tried to cross up, but it's failing. It's failing, and the fact that it's failing really close to the center line kind of worries me and says daily pullback is the most likely thing. Yeah, so most likely you're going to see, well, I would say if you have supply issues, correct, in something like Walmart, Nazim, and thank you for the email again, by the way, Nazim. I really appreciate that email. It was very, very kind of you to say some nice stuff, but for the most part, you would say, well, if the supply is going to soak up, if we think of simple economics here, if the supply for something like Walmart is going to reduce, but the demand is going to increase because people are going to freak out and most likely go there, you might see things like Walmart pop off. I'm just going to be genuine. We'll look at that chart in a moment. Please remind me by typing right now, Nazim. Can you type WMT one more time in the chat for me? Just so I remember to go look at it. As we go look at something like DJT, I think the key thing here is going to be the fact that you do have this flatness, a slight divergence here on the 2 hour. I want to see it on a 4. And once you pull it up on a 4, you really see how this is trying to make that strong upward move. Getting past that level, you can turn down one more time. So something key here might be a rejection from this level and turn down, maybe get that higher low scenario or some kind of divergence down here again. I think that would be key, just because you're still a little bit low on this MACD, especially when you go look at a 2 hour now trying to go positive. So this is why you have to be on the 2 hour open to this going like that. That's a very controlled move, right? We can tell that's very controlled. So if that would just cross down, maybe we go make that double bottom, and that's a better moment. We tried around our buy zone, we really tried, but able to break down. So this is a resistance level. That's a breakdown level. So this is where we have to pay attention for rejection. Or the bullish thing. The bullish thing would be actually, I think, you head a little bit higher, you get into this zone, you kind of fudge around in here for a second, and then you curl back up, right? We see this 2 hour actually go positive, curl down, curl back up. Then you're kind of saying, hey, we're going to continue on in this positive trend. Did all my necessary shopping over the weekend? Yes, I did too. I hope that you guys watched my Saturday video. I would just highly encourage you, if you have not gotten groceries, if your fridge is pretty empty right now or you don't have anything like that, just to be cautious, go take $100 and really go get some groceries that are necessities. Don't buy some crappy food that's not going to sustain anything, right? Go buy some decent food, all right? I know it's already expensive, but if this really does happen full-fledged, it can get really bad. I mean, the last time that I remember, or at least my brother and I were talking about it over the weekend, he mentioned Reagan. Actually, it happened with the airports. They had a port strike with airports and imports there, and he had to sporadically fire everyone and hire new people because they could not afford for that to shut down. And then I believe there was a time where Biden had almost a port strike, and he said that they could go on strike technically, but they need to keep working because it would cause a crash in the economy. So it really does mean a lot. I'm glad that my wife randomly pointed it out, because I was just talking to her. I was like, I can't figure out why these signals look bad. And she mentioned it, and I was like, that is very serious. Remember toilet paper during COVID? Well, now you're talking about more than toilet paper. You're talking about, toilet paper was so funny to me. Back when I was a comedic streamer, a comedic guy, I actually used to have almost 300,000 followers on TikTok for a couple of years. I was just comedic TikToker and comedic on Twitch. And I made a video where I said, I don't get why people are freaking out about toilet paper when you could just poop and hop in the shower and wash your butthole. So it was funnier than that. I made it funny, but I was just like kind of playing a joke on those people. All right, let's go look over at Walmart real quick. I think it's important to go check on this. How come the weekly ranges are so good, even though the ranges for Friday start moving as the stock moves on Monday? The ranges for Friday start moving as the stock moves on Monday. Try to clarify that a little bit for me, Manfred, okay? Because I don't know exactly what you're saying. Those weekly ranges never move. The weekly range doesn't move. The daily ranges always do, right? They always shift, okay? So overall, the weekly ranges will not move until Friday close. Then we can use the data after everything closes and finishes up after like an hour of trading. Usually I try to make the ranges on Sunday morning. That way I know nothing is really messing with it. Yeah, so I write them up on Sunday, and then we have weekly ranges. Those do not change. Those do not change. Now, they can, obviously, if you calculate them the next day, they're going to change. Why? There's more data. There's more trades taking place. But what we want to do is say, what did they expect before the week began? What did they expect before the month began? What did they expect before the day began? And that's kind of the big thing. Obviously, if you keep calculating and calculating and calculating, it'll always change. You just want to be sure with that calculation, and you're good to go. Let's go look at Walmart real quick. Maybe I can answer that a little bit better for you, Manfred. Yeah, so you always use the previous data. Walmart, really bad signal here, actually. A 2-hour divergence. Pay attention if that 2-hour can rotate up, but this is actually not the best signal here. A daily is already pulling back with the rejection, so actually Walmart's saying it could go through some pain, which actually does make sense. If you actually know this about economics, as far as inflation goes, a lot of people think that inflation is a demand issue, inflation is a this issue, inflation is that issue. Actually, how inflation really hurts a lot of businesses is they actually take on too much product early. They try to guess that inflation is going to continue, and then they end up with warehouses full of product that is going to expire. And that's actually a very, very bad thing for stocks like Walmart. So yeah, Manfred, and if you need more clarification, just try to ask it in a different way, but I'm trying my best to answer that question. For the most part, you just want to make the ranges not when trading is taking place. But yeah, so for things that have supply issues, a lot of them is like even furniture. A lot of furniture companies go through struggles when inflation pops up because they go, oh, inflation's popping up. Let's buy 1,000 more of this couch. That way we have it. And then it just sits there and sits there and sits there in their warehouse if people can't afford it or something like that. Or there's some kind of unemployment issue. Then you have to think about it. You're just sitting with a bunch of couches on your books. That's why back in, I think it was about 2022, 2021, we actually saw a lot of furniture companies get bought up. They get bought up by other furniture companies who did not make that mistake. And then they can buy those products for pennies on the dollar. Very interesting, but it is a very cool thing to understand how supply and demand really works and how inflation makes businesses think we need a bunch of supply while it's still cheap because inflation's going up. And then they end up sitting with thousands of things on their books that they can't sell. That's when it becomes a problem. Once you go into recession and a bunch of people do have these things in their warehouses, just taking up space, a warehouse they're paying for, it can cause a lot of problems. So daily is rejecting here. I'm kind of worried about Walmart, to be honest. The signals don't look good. So what I would say is, even if this is going to be good for Walmart, the 2-hour needs to turn back up. All right, let's pop back over to the SPY anyway, because we have been really focusing on looking through. I'm really enjoying the day. I think we're getting into a lot of good things that people can learn from, so I really do appreciate that. I want you to notice the 2-hour never turned up. So what would be the bullish signal here? Does anyone know what the bullish signal would be since this is getting towards the center line? What would be the simple bullish signal here on my screen? Come on, someone's got it. How big? Okay, sorry. Can you check how big that sell block is on AMC on the level 2, please? Okay. Let me go see if there are any data I can get. And actually, let me put, I wanted to put, shoot, I can't do a poll right now. This is kind of the bad part about this. I want to do a poll real quick, just to ask my community. I don't like taking sponsorships. I don't think I've ever taken a sponsorship. I guess I've been my own sponsor the entire time. But what I wanted to ask was a key thing. There's just a company that keeps reaching out to me. I think they are a good company. I've used their platform in the past, but not recently. So I was thinking about doing that. But I just wanted to get your guys' take. I don't want to get some kind of discount code or something for something that people don't even want. All right. So let's see this. Would you use Bookmaps? All right, we're just going to start that poll. Bookmaps is a good way to see exactly what that question is for AMC. And then I'm going to go check on that real quick. You love Bookmaps? Okay, awesome, awesome. Just make sure you vote in there, and then I will email them back and start to work on that partnership if enough people see it as valuable. I think it's a good platform. It's one that I actually do enjoy. I don't use it often anymore, but I used to. Okay, let me see here. So I need to look for this. And once again, let me know if this music is too loud or annoying you in some way. I don't want people to get annoyed by some tunage. Some little bebop music, you know? Okay, some news for AMC did drop though. Just a little bit. It looks like AMC might have just paid off 152.9 million of the unsecured debt, so that's a good thing. Okay, let me go into a different platform here and see if I can find it. It was a value of about 170K. Okay, so the sell for that wall there was about 170,000 shares, equaling to about $100,000 from what we see as far as the orders go for the options data there. But you have about 170K plus shares in the order books there for it, so that's something to pay attention to. But that looks like about the amount there. Oh shoot, is this not updating? Okay, there we go. All right, we'll go no tunes just for a little bit here, guys, all right? We'll just go no tunes. We'll enjoy each other's silence. We don't have music the entire time, but let's go check on Tesla. Well, Tesla, the key thing here is, are these hourlies going to turn back down? You don't necessarily have that divergence. You have kind of flatness, if not a little bit up here for the RSI. Down for the MACD, but it's still far away-ish from that center line, so we want to pay attention because the last time it was around this area, what happened? It curled back up into positive territory. So if Tesla does drop down on this hourly, just pay attention. It means this could be a reversal, right? But this also could just build up and turn back up. That's why it's like, it doesn't mean don't take a trade. It means learn how to manage that trade. That's why managing the trade is so damn... Of course, you know, I'm streaming. It's the morning. I get hiccups. So Tesla, yeah, it doesn't mean I can't take a play here. It means I need to make sure that's not curling back up. All right, SPY for the low for the day is 567.38, 68% zone. Remember that, 68% chance to land here, 32% chance to see something a little bit crazy. But volatility is starting to hold up, actually, not really curling down. Did it curl down on the 30-minute? It did briefly, kind of just pulling back with time. We'll see if that reading can pop back up and swing back up to the upside. But right now, it would say it's still pulling back. Apple with a gray move, just fading it right as you hit that level. It's a good level to hit, though, even on the shorter time frames, to do something like that, like a cup and handle within a bigger cup and handle is fine, right? The big cup and handle, you get a little cup and handle in here. That could be interesting. As of right now, if volatility turns up on the daily, you're looking at least for a, I would say, even daily pullback. Right, I would say daily pullback. And I really like these levels. I actually really like where the weekly expected move is. I like this box in here pretty much, right? Retest the breakout because we rejected from there once, then we rejected from there again above those levels. So hitting that level again to test it would be nice. You can see, did the 4-hour cross? Yes, it did. There's divergence there, right? It says, hey, I can take a trade here. I just have to know if that 2-hour rotates back up, then that trade's not going to go well for me anymore, right? 2-hour rotates up, good things can happen. What to do there? So when you're seeing a shorter time frame, it just means maybe, you know, pay attention to the biggest one. That's the most likely direction. The bigger time frame is the most likely direction. But if you're seeing a daily look like, hey, I'm going to cross, right? Or I've crossed, right? Let's say it's crossed, but then you see a 30-minute turning up, right? We see a 30-minute turning up into positive territory. It might mean be a little bit patient, right? That's what the main thing is going to be. See if that can curl up into positive territory. That means be patient. This could be some kind of bounce that takes a downfall later on, right? Gives you some kind of lower high. So that's what I'd be paying attention to because the MACD is down lower. It means if we do get a positive reaction, you do have a little bit more probability for this being a lower high than actually rebuilding because you are in negative territory in some way. So for now, I would be paying attention to the breakdown area, right? This is a breakdown area. You see we tried to stay there, broke down through it. Now if we build up, I'd pay attention if we can actually get above that. That would be a place for rejection in my book. I don't have a Tesla low for the day. I have a Tesla low for the week, and that 30 minutes. So this is the main signal actually for Tesla. I'm glad that you brought it up when I was on a 30-minute because I didn't look at a 30-minute yet. This is going to be the main signal. 30-minute crosses down right here. That's going to be a signal for we are heading lower. That's going to be the big thing. Amazon, you got to be worried because that already gave you the bad signals, right? We have the rejection at the high here, trying to curl up, rejects. You had 2-hour divergence across this. And then you see that daily, looking like, hey, I want to cross down. So Amazon actually saying, hey, I can experience some more weakness here. This is where the downside could be all the way down to, and sometimes for strike price, I just like to look at my weekly moves and I say, okay, Amazon says something like 181 can happen. So maybe I would take something like 181. Right? And then I see as it gets there, if I like that money value, especially if it's early on in the week and we do that, maybe we experience some kind of bounce and then I can say, okay, this, I can take that, I can take profit, then see that bounce up, maybe leave some contracts just in case, see that bounce up, curl down on a 2-hour or 30-minute and then continue to play that downside, right? So that's how I would look into it for the most part. But I just want you to pay attention because the 30-minute is very beat up here. So if that turns up, is this the best timing to take a trade to that downside move, considering all of this has already happened? The correct timing was actually last Wednesday, right away in the morning, right here at 192.50 downside move. Now you're in an area where you could experience some kind of bounce, right? Will that be a big bounce? Or will that just be a 30-minute crosses up and crosses back down and this 2 hours not able to cross back up? That's what I'd be paying attention to for Amazon. But a lot of the time I like to use weekly ranges as a strike price, by the way. I just got back in. Reese, what was your question? Repeat your question real quick, Reese. Man, we're having fun today. We're getting stuff done. Because I got to be off in about 40 minutes, so we're getting stuff done. Okay, check out how big that sell block. Yeah, it was about 170K shares worth. It was about worth about 170K shares worth is what I saw. Ah, shoot. Did I check the price? God dang it. Of course I didn't check the price. I'm seeing 454. 454. It is. It's a lot of potential orders. It really is a big block order. It's a decent sized block order. We've seen bigger, but that's a decent sized block order. Potentially, they did just pay off some debt. I need to get clarification of that. Do I think something like GME hits 23? I think you have that possibility, especially if an hourly can turn up. I think that hourly turns up, you're going to hit 23. I think you're going to get past 23, and I think you might head all the way up towards 2480. 2480 is going to be the key level to pay attention to. But I think if this hourly curls up, you have a good shot to test that 24 to 25 level. Of course, Reese. Oh my goodness, that's a big stretch. If you didn't know, I slept funny. I got like back spasms going on. That's not good. Need a heat pad. I'm old. NEO with the big move up. So this is what's interesting is NEO making this move up. An electric vehicle is making this move upward. Very interesting to see. Now, you did have rejection divergence here. So as I go into a 4-hour, this is going to be great. You always want to be versatile, be able to look at multiple time frames, because look at this double bottom. It's pretty fantastic. Curls up and then boom to the upside. So this was the signal that this was going to go up higher. And that's mainly the cool one there. Oh, they're shorting the crap out of it, huh? Well, that is good news, right? The only thing they have to say about AMC and GME is debt. GME already got rid of that. AMC has not gotten rid of their full debt, so they're restructuring it, and they just seem like they might. I need to get clarification. I need to get clarification if they're actually going to, if that story is actually true. But we'll see. That is a good sign, and that's the main thing with AMC. We know the business structure is doing so much better. We know the business structure is doing better. So the cool part for me was last week we said, well, this dropped down below the 200. So where's its most likely going? 437. What did it do? It went to 437. So that was very, very cool. Now, the main thing is I just want to keep things very simple for myself. Very simple. I want to keep this as my indication that things can go up. If this crosses up like that, then I go, okay, this can go up. This can go up. This can break through 504. I want to keep it really simple for something like AMC. And if you're talking about if it's entering late into something like AMC or even GME, I like to say it this way. If we go back all the way to even this moment here, this moment right here, let's say this in 2021, right? A lot of people were asking the same question that you were asking right here at 1551. So the answer to that question is always relative to the move that happens next, right? Is this a good time to buy? Well, you should have some reasons for if you are going to buy. I would say all the reasons to buy were right here at $8. Boom to the upside, right? Notice that was a daily cross up. It's fantastic in positive territory. That's fantastic. So it's relative to the next move, really. It's if you're asking, is this a bad buy area right here? Is this too late? Well, is it? Because it went like that. Is this too late? Well, is it? Because it went like that. So what we want to see is, since we're looking at these shorter time frames, right, to figure out what's going on here, what we want to do is pull all the way across, get that Japanese mayo for a sec, spray some of that on there. And then we want to say, well, that daily has crossed, it has divergence, it's going through a period of consolidation. I'm sorry for scrolling and wiping everything. So if it's going through that consolidation, that could mean it's an opportunity and people are able to hold the stock up. So if that hourly curls up, that's when you can see a positive move break through 2480. So in about 5-6 minutes, if that green little bar holds, that would mean there's a chance. If that would roll back down on a 30-minute, would that mean the chance is still there? No, it'd mean bad things, right? This is rolled up on a 30-minute. Notice it rolled down, rolled up. Okay, now it has a chance. If that rolls down, then that chance is kind of gone until that rolls back up. That's all you want to do in these shorter term. You want to find those times where it's like, okay, we have a daily divergence, we have this, what's the signal for me to get in? I would say an hourly cross-up is a good signal to see positivity that could potentially take you through 2480. But that's why we teach you how to manage trades, right? How to manage trades, because this doesn't have to play out. It doesn't have to do that. It can go like this, they fight the stock, right? Some good structure to head higher would be to react to that level, dip down, fake everyone out, and then turn right back up, right? Go like, GME with the Bollinger Bands is sitting right in the middle. The good part is you're above all of the moving averages and you're starting to get a strong bar there. So that's a good sign. I think something you really need too is AMC to follow. I think AMC following would really help GME out. If both of them could pop off sort of at the same, like closer to the same time. If AMC pops, GME might pop. If GME pops, AMC might pop. But if they do it at the same time, I think it's a little bit easier. But for the most part, you're just sitting in between in these Bollinger Bands. They're starting to spread out, so you're seeing those slightly bigger swings, right? We got real tight, then we spread them out, spread them out, spread them out. So I have tried to do an iron condor before, Nazim. It's not that it didn't go well, it just didn't do much. It didn't do much, and I think I tried it a couple times. And overall, I think for the most part, I would say it broke even on both trades. Of course, Alex, I hope that that was overall like a little bit helpful here, but the hourly is crossing up, and you got about 3 minutes left, and that's a great move. AMC, hourly not able to cross down. 30-minute maybe was the pullback, right? 30-minute pulling back. If that 30-minute crosses up, hey, we got a chance to curl up this daily. All right, cool. GME looks pretty spot on. I kind of like it. Probably because they're not able to fight GME. Right, we go through these times where GME or AMC give good news. These times where GME or AMC give good news. And if one of them gives good news, you'll notice that that one actually kind of suffers, and then GME maybe starts to pop up, right? AMC gives some decent news. Okay, then GME starts to pop off, and AMC starts to just kind of lag behind. And that's because I think they're mainly paying attention to AMC. I think that they have trouble keeping both down at the same time when news comes out. That's my true belief there. But we'll see. I wanted to go look at the DIA. I still want to pay attention if that daily scale rolls over for this guy. And then obviously volatility, keep our eye on that as well. That's very close to crossing. Very freaking close to crossing, isn't it? So now what did we mention here? Yeah, when you do this, you can pull down, especially when you cross over. Where can you head towards? Oh, we can head towards the 200. All right, we head towards the 200. Now we're getting that bounce up, daily cross up. Would be a scary, scary thing. Dollars popping as well. Thank you for pointing that out, Sid. I was a little bit distracted by this, but the 2-hour cross, remember that 2-hour cross? All right, now we got to see is that 4-hour going to cross up too. If the 4-hour crosses up, all right, we might just see people fly into cash for some reason. So watch out is what that overall tells me. Very interested to see what happens with this, what happens with Walmart. Thank you guys for bringing that up. That is fantastic. I think I like this. 4-hour big divergences. You can see how plain and simple that is. Just going to see if that's able to turn down the daily scale, which actually already happened because of the rejection. So you're seeing a lot of weakness here for Walmart, actually. Which, I guess, if we take supply side issues into consideration, it means that their profits aren't going to be sustainable, right? They're not going to have the supply to meet the demand for a longer period of time if this happens, or there's just going to be a blip in it, and that can cause a lot. A little blip in the port strike can really cause a lot in imports. So we had to make sure to look at some key things we needed that is imported. That's what we did over the weekend. I paid attention to things that we buy that are imported, and we went and bought those. Now, key thing to look at here is the PCC is actually low. So you're actually seeing a low PCC. You're seeing the dollar rising and the SPY dropping. So even though the SPY is negative and the dollar is positive, that's normal behavior. You do see people trying to get calls. It means that they could kind of be rug pulled. Yeah, Powell's speech is in about, about 2 hours before close. So Powell's speech from right now would be in about 3 hours. If you wanted to, guys, a very good tool is just to use this economic calendar. It's called Trading Economics, right? You can see the link right here, tradingeconomics.com/calendar. That is a very, very good tool. That's the one that I use. I used to use a different one. I like this one the best. It gives more information. You can select multiple countries if you want to pay attention to Japanese stuff or something as well. I just select the US for the most part, but it is a very, very good tool. I highly suggest you bookmark that site. It is completely free. Liked and sub, thank you for the info. Of course, Juan, thank you so much for coming in and asking a question. I think that's perfectly fine. Thank you for joining the community. I do appreciate you being here. Is the AMC sell block still there? As of my knowledge right now, yes. Yes, it is. Why is that one? Why is this? Oh no, MMTLP is back in the news here. I'm sorry, what? Why is this? I'm sorry, I have to read why. Oh my God, dude. Just people are crazy these days. You're saying now that Donald Trump wants the purge. He said he wants the purge. It's just, dude. My God. He doesn't. No politician wants the purge. Because then they have to deal with all that crap. Why would they want the purge? Juan, thanks so much for subscribing. Can we look at TNX? We can look at TNX real quick. Let's just look at those signals. For the most part, I wanted to show the dailies here. See how the dailies showing that divergence down here? Which is something that we paid attention to because of the 10-year, right? So this is where I took my little TLT play for a second, or actually I took my investment out. That's what I did here. TLT took a little bit of a play here, but took my investment out. Once that happened, I said, uh-oh, that's a bad signal for my trade. I want this to go down. So now I can pay attention, I can look for other things, but for the most part, this here does not look very good. And as you go look at something like TNX, you're gonna see a very similar signal, boom, right there. So what you wanna pay attention to, obviously daily curling down is bad, you're still in negative territory for your indicator down there, the MACD. But what we can look at here is, does the 2-hour turn back up? Does an hourly turn back up, right? Hourly still close enough to that center line where we can see positivity here. Okay, so for TNX, that's what I'd be looking for. See if that hourly can turn up. The only problem with this hourly is you did make a reversal signal up here. You see the divergence there, you see the divergence down. So let's pay attention to if like a daily or a 4-hour does cross down. It means we could head a little bit lower. TLT other side to this, just wanted to show how there were reversal signals for TLT throughout all of this, by the way, for this bounce. And it's really in a key level. It needs to break through that 98.66. Chicago PMI edged up to 46.6 in September 2024 from 46.1 in August and compared to a forecast of 46.2. Thank you for the update on the information. Can we look at Boeing? And yes, PMI ticking up, not the best sign, but we'll see. Boeing, heading down to lower levels again. So when I see a 30-minute like this is a lot of transactions happening down here for the 30-minute. I just want to make sure that this is clear. We see a lot of divergence here at these lows. We're seeing another point down here that says, hey, we could go base out even harder here. You see how the tapering has really gone completely like this. And then now we've started to go, boom, flat, which means we are trying to carve out a base here. It is possible. It's not 100%. That would mean for me, can the 4 hours remain crossed, I guess? For the most part, 4 hour very, very deep, so that could dip down one more time. We'll see. And then the daily scale is going to be important here as well. We see that daily was able to cross up, and it does actually have a flat divergence here on the RSI. So that tells me this is most likely going to just be a bounce, maybe to test a breakdown area towards maybe 162. That's what it tells me in the indicators. Obviously, I need things proven in those indicators to really get into a trade, right? I need this 30-minute to flip back around. Then I at least have a reason. As soon as I bought puts, it shoots up. Hey, that's how it works sometimes, right? That's why you got to be patient with the play. You got to make sure you're managing your risk, and you got to make sure, hey, this 30-minute could just curl up. If that curls up, that means positivity. We haven't seen a daily curl down. We haven't seen anything really curl down. We've seen a rejection, right? It means if I wanted to take a short play here, that's fine. What I do is I like to take a longer out expiration or play something else because the SPY gets fudged with a lot. I play something else. I do not take a lot of option plays on the SPY. Sometimes I do the Qs, sometimes I do the SPY, but for the most part, if I'm wanting to play the SPY, I'm playing volatility, right? I'm seeing what volatility is doing. I'm seeing if volatility curls up on a daily chart. I'm seeing that the volatility here has curled down on a 30-minute. That tells me that the SPY can bounce, right? But if this just goes bloop, then it's kind of a different story. Oof, we are talking today, aren't we? Do refresh. Excuse me. Had to burp. All right. Orders look good. Boeing did a big layoff. Boeing, man. Boeing, Spirit, all these guys, my goodness. If you don't know, where I'm at, there's a bunch of pretty much like Boeing, Spirit, Beechcraft, like all these places are right here. They're all on strike right now too. Oh, you guys, I went shooting yesterday. Oh, I went shooting with some cops out at their range, their outdoor range. Oh, it was some work, man. It was fun though. Oh, it was, oh my gosh, I was so tired after, but it was like 3 hours worth of shooting drills. I was like, damn, that was some work. I want to go again. I'm like, but shit. Shooting's an expensive hobby, guys, if you shoot like that. Hopefully the SPY to 567. And we'll see it. We'll see it. Just know if the 30-minute does curl up, very low likelihood of that happening. You got a big range. Most likely this sits here and waits for Jerome Powell or some kind of news. But you do have a decent sized range today. Right? From this point, you could end up almost 1% higher, 0.75, in just one day. From this area right here, you could end up 0.66 lower. Shooting's only expensive if you miss. I actually was the best precision shooter out of everyone yesterday with a pistol. I could ping that thing from, where were we at? About 50 yards consistently. Precision. I don't have a red dot or anything. I'm just using irons, man. I like my irons. Everyone else was shooting red dots and missing. I was like, they're good shooters. It just probably like their red dot got off or something like that. But does Tesla have a daily range? No, IFOMA. It needs an expiration. So if you look at options data, you can check any stock. Go look if you can buy an option for today on whatever stock that you're looking at, and that can have a range. If it can't have an option expire today, then you can't have a range for the day. Boeing fires 20,000 employees, but you don't need to worry about unemployment, guys. Remember, it's fine. The jobs market's strong. They just revised over 800,000 revision down because they lied to you about the numbers, but it's strong, guys. Believe them, even though they've lied to you constantly. And we're, what's all the stuff here? Let's see. Just remember that COVID's not going to come to the United States. Came to the United States. Just remember that we're not going to experience high inflation. We experienced high inflation. Just remember that it's transitory. It wasn't transitory. Yeah, IFOMA, you have to have that expiration date in order to calculate it. So just remember, they're not scared. They're cutting rates faster because things are good. Things are so good for the top 10% of the United States. For the top 10% of the United States, because the, I think it's like 85% of the stock market is owned by the top 10%, the rich, top 10%. So of course, this is a good thing. They're going to say it's a good thing because rich people are very happy. But personally, I don't like paying $400 for groceries when I used to pay $150 for those groceries, personally. But don't worry, we're for the middle class, right? Is Tesla turning down on the 30-minute? We can go look at that real quick. Ooh, it's starting to. Exactly, Chris. Chris Dinero. Okay, there you go. Okay, so are you seeing that news as well? I need to have a clarified source from that. I just saw a blip of it. AMC Entertainment has reduced a substantial amount of debt, the movie theater chain announced Monday. That's why everyone best aim to get rich. Yes. Or we could make the game a little bit more fair and we could have a bigger number of well-off people. Oh yeah, volatility of volatility. I wanted to check on that on the daily. That is seeing a big move. So we can at least expect bigger moves. Volatility of volatility, the VVIX. 140 million. I think I saw about 152 million. That is true, Dawson. But you would also say in this type of environment, it would be easier to be rich if the game wasn't skewed in one direction. And I'm not really saying rich, I'm just saying maybe comfortable, right? If this whole system was not rigged like this, then we wouldn't have artificially held things up and you wouldn't have seen these astronomical numbers, right? So that's all, but it is what it is. Gotta play it. Here's the accurate number of the... What is Bookmaps? It's a good platform to see the options order flow. So you can use it to see like block orders and things like that. So you can see where those orders are and see where that resistance can come in. Like if you maybe have the SPY, right? Maybe you have the SPY and you see a 30-minute crossing up and you notice that there are a ton of block orders, maybe at 576 for sell orders. And you see this start to go like that, and you're like, oh, a weekly expected move. Well, that might go a little bit higher, hit those orders, and then boom, start to head to the downside. So it is a useful tool if you combine it with other things, right? You go, okay, I saw a 30-minute cross up, so it crosses up. What's the orders look like above us? Oh, okay, 576. I reduced a huge amount of debt, fired my wife. Oh, God, that's a good one. That's a good one. We'd all be rich without wives, right? No. We love our ladies around here. My wife does so much, she'd kill me with that joke, but she does so much around me. She allows me to be able to sit here and talk about stocks, right? There's so many other things to do around the house all the time. But yeah, Bookmaps, it's a good little platform. They've emailed me a ton. I know that I've looked at it in the past. I've used it in the past. But for the most part, I've never really tried to use it, but I think it would be cool to use and see if they line up with weekly expected moves, daily expected moves, those kinds of things. But yeah, it's a good way to see the order flow. Where's Jerome coming out? He's talking at some talk, but mainly it's just about the economic outlook. That's what you need to know, right? We want to know what it's about. I don't really care where he's speaking. I care about what he is talking about. Why is he talking? So for the most part, you just want to say, okay, he's giving the economic outlook. He's probably going to keep the same exact freaking tone he always keeps. But for the most part, he will be coming out in about 3 hours. Poor Nashville, man. Prayers go out to Nashville. Wait. Nashville. I thought it was Asheville. Maybe I have it wrong. Oof. Another video of North Carolina right here, though. Oof. Have we had anyone talk about this? Like, are we helping anyone? Does anyone know? Like, are we gonna help our people? It's still early on in the day, Kalani, right? It's still early on in the day. It's very rare to wake up, see a move in an hour, and then be like, that's where it's going. It is a little bit rare. What you'd more so want to say is maybe in the first 2 hours. So probably by about 10:30, we'll see if this thing is going to cross up. And then we'll see if some kind of rig move happens by the end of the day. But DeSantis is? Okay. The backdrop of his speech should be a dumpster fire. Oh, I wish I was good at editing because I would do that. Just like, we're going to have a soft landing. You just like show planes crashing in the background. Well, see, that's the big problem, and I would highly encourage anyone who's going to vote in this election just to read into things when they say, "Oh, this bill was denied because Democrats are awful," or "This bill was denied because Republicans are awful." Just go look at the bill for a second, because I believe the last bill for the immigration crisis that was coming out, about 80 to 90% of the money, meaning I think it was like 100 something billion dollars or 100 billion, something like that. I think 90% of that was going to go to Ukraine. So they're like, yeah, you get a little bit. Yeah, we're going to call it the immigration bill, but beneath the actual inside of the bill, you see, 80%, 90%, something around there of the money is just another thing going to Ukraine. And that's just ignorant government spending. And that's the thing that people should be talking about. And that's what was being talked about after 2008. And then they started to really get people talking about the social justices, and I was like, that's a distraction. So another woke guy. Wait, if Jerome comes out of the closet, I don't really care who he wants to fondle as long as they're of age. Make sure that's clear and they have consent. But I more care about, is he actually going to be honest with what's going on? Because the only reason you react and you speed up the cutting at this rate, when you see unemployment ticking up, you see the jobs data revision and all that stuff, the only reason that you would do that is because you're reacting to something, in my opinion. So I think he's reacting. I think there's something bad that either we don't know about or we're about to know about. And something like a huge layoff from something like Boeing can matter, weirdly enough. VIX trying to drop back down a little bit here. We'll see if it can hold above that 1683. I like that level. I like that reading. I'm always a little bit cautious of the market if you're above that 1683. It's kind of the first it's like your yellow zone, your warning flag. Obviously above 20 is when the big stuff starts to happen. Go look at IWM trying to curl up as well on that 30-minute. GME did start to fade that move a little bit towards the high. So now you still want to pay attention if that 30-minute does cross back down. AMC has not curled back up there. Port workers strike tomorrow is what we talked about on Saturday. So we gave out a Saturday video over the weekend, and I was like, I think, and the main reason I was looking for what could be going on, and I thought that this was the thing, was because volatility turned up dramatically on Friday, and I was like, what could be happening over the weekend or soon that could really be causing this? Because we're not seeing a lot of news around anything that can really cause a major move in volatility. And then the port workers strike is what I overall was looking into, and I go, oh God, this could be awful. I was like, if you just think of it very common sense, I didn't even have to do a ton of research. I just looked and made sure it was happening, and then I go, okay, if it is going to happen, the problems that could ensue are massive. So that's why we're paying attention to it, because that can really cause you some trouble with gas prices and other things like that. And I just started to read into that because of volatility turning up. I think you have potential for it. I think you have potential for this to just be a pullback, right? I think the pullback area, it's a perfect area for your weekly move, actually. If you could just see a minor pullback, just see like 4 days of turning down, 4 days, and then on Friday, you see that blip back up, right? We just go like that, real slow all week. 30-minute, usually you want to go up into a bigger time frame for Bitcoin. Because it trades so often and so sporadically, 30 minutes can be a little rough. If the daily scale turns down, that's bad. What you want to be looking for is the 4-hour signal. You have the 4-hour divergence here. That's the main signal that told you this thing can head down, right? And that actually popped up way back here towards 65.6K. So what I'd be paying attention to if this is going to head back up, yes, the 30-minute divergence, you can read into it, but the main thing you want to see is the 2-hour actually confirming it? Because this is pretty negative at this point. Yeah, the crazy part for me with the port workers strike is when you really think about it with some common sense, you go, Well, if they are struggling and they want more money because they are struggling, and then they actually go on strike and don't work at all, and then cause prices to get up even higher, then their families might actually struggle even more during the strike. So it's kind of like you're shooting yourself in the foot to hopefully get something better. So that's what's interesting to me. I'm still just like thinking about that. But I just think that that's an interesting way to think about it. It's like they're going to suffer and cause a lot of other people to suffer, and then maybe get a cookie at the end of it. And then usually what happens with this, by the way, just so you're aware, with strikes and things like that, because we have so many in my city all the time. We have them about every 2 years. The bad part is if you go through a period of time where they actually get what they want and you see major increases in their, say, salary or salary over time, well, what a company can do is once you go into an inflationary event, a deflationary event, meaning a recession or something like that, they can actually just fire you because they can't sustain that payment anymore. So that's kind of a bad thing that can happen from those strikes getting better contracts. After a couple of years, they could just fire everyone because they're like, we can't make this. We're going through deflation. Yeah, I think if we remember in what was it, 2020, we actually saw that Biden was leading with bigger amounts in the polls, and it was still a tight race. Hillary Clinton was leading in a bunch of the polls, pretty dramatically, and he won. So back in 2016. So for me, I'm not really a polls guy. I just do what is best for my family, and that's it. They're asking for an $80 an hour raise. Do you know what their actual rate is right now? Or replace them with AI, yeah. Yeah, it would probably be cheaper for them to just make machinery and pay some maintenance workers at that point. Yeah, I could see that. It's just a bummer because some of the people that aren't tied into the strike, actually a buddy of mine, he actually was at the range. I just met him, so not necessarily a buddy, but he's a good dude. I really enjoyed, people were very encouraging because I'm relatively new to shooting, but everyone was very nice. He said that it's kind of weird because the people that go on strike, there's other people that work within the company that can't go on strike, but like the people on strike will get mad at them if they show up to work. Reaching 100K soon. So this is something, Zhao Zhang, that I was actually looking into over the weekend and talking about with some people. Because actually it was my buddy, my cop buddy, because he's obsessed with Bitcoin and I love it. It's so much fun. But he was like, so what's Bitcoin going to do? And I said, well, I'm trying to figure out right now, are we going to experience a crash in the form of the dollar dying off and then Bitcoin sees its moment? Or are we going to see the dollar, still people fly into the dollar and then that be a bad thing for Bitcoin? I'm still reading into it. Because if we see the dollar start to just crash out of nowhere, then technically that would be a good thing for Bitcoin. So we have to see if this possible crash that we're going to go through in the next, I would say, since we have an inversion last month or whatever, 18 months, whatever we go into, is that going to cause the dollar to struggle, or is that going to cause people to fly into the dollar? I think that would help a lot with it. But if the dollar does struggle and crash, then you would say, okay, most likely people are running into, if it's not assets like stocks, right? Then you would say they might be flying into assets like gold, silver, Bitcoin. So it'll just be interesting. You will see it in the signals, okay? So at the end of the day, the signals will prove everything, okay? So if this 2 hour turns up, that means positivity, right? If the daily curls down, that's a bigger time frame. So if the daily curls down, that means negativity, right? If you keep it very, very simple, daily crosses up, positivity. Uh-oh, daily cross back down, negativity. Oh, daily cross back up, positivity, right? Try to keep it as simple as possible, but that's something I'm reading into. I actually chatted about it over the weekend with some guys. So I think that's the big question. Is the dollar actually going to crash? Or is the dollar actually still going to have some steam left in it? Are people still going to believe in the dollar? You would need something bad to happen, really bad with the dollar to happen to see Bitcoin. Just do that right now. My overall take on how I think it would play out is I think the dollar takes a longer time to crash. I think that Bitcoin actually sees some terrible stuff, right? I think that we've held this market up even with 2008. We haven't gotten rid of that problem, right? We're actually in a worse housing crisis probably right now than 2008, honestly. So I think that you do have an opportunity to head much lower. And I'm not saying that has to happen. Obviously, I'm paying attention to the signals, But I don't like this signal here. The technicals are saying even with this building up, that can be a good thing. But if this crosses down for whatever reason, I really like my purple zone. It starts at about 13.7K. That's just I am going to buy this with two hands zone. It doesn't mean, oh, I hope this crashes down there or anything. I just go, if this signal proves to be something, I believe that's where we'll head. And if we do head there, a lot of people would give up on Bitcoin. And right when they give up on Bitcoin is when I'm going to be buying the damn thing. That's how you do things, right? That's just how we do things. You buy when everyone hates something. You sell when everyone loves something. Look at NVIDIA. Everyone loved NVIDIA right here. Yeah, it went a little bit higher. And then we said, watch out. Divergence. Bloop. Oh, it's going to break through. Well, that crossed over, so watch out, guys. We're pulling back. If that's going to cross through, it needs to cross up again. Never did. Boom, downside. So everyone thought this was the moment where it's going to break through these highs. And we go, ooh, there's some flatness up here. Watch out. There's some divergence. If you break through this low, it's going to be bad. Oh, it was bad, right? So if the main time, and I'm not saying like, oh, we're right all the time. I'm saying if we pay attention to the signals correctly, we will always be in the right move for the most part, or not in the wrong move, right? So with something like NVIDIA, this is a bad signal. So right now I'm in the right move or not in the wrong move, because I know that at these levels, when that did cross over right here, I need to get out of everything, right? And then if that just curls back up, awesome, we can maybe break through. Bank earnings are going to be crazy, dude. Bank earnings are going to be a little bit wild. But today, guys, it is approaching the time where I do have to hop off. I'm sorry that this morning was a little bit lackluster, I would say. It seems people might be waiting for Jerome Powell's talk in just a little bit, okay? So I won't be able to be live for that. Make sure to tune into it. I will be posting anything that I see as important today over on Patreon. You can get that down the link in the description. If you are trying to learn, if you did enjoy the stream, please give it a like. But if you enjoyed it so much that you just want to look into a course, I'm not saying you have to get it. You can ask questions about it tomorrow if you want, but those courses are going to be 90% off most likely for the rest of the year, so you do have a little bit of time to get it. The sooner you get it, the more you can benefit, okay? Thank you guys so much for watching today. I really do appreciate it. I'm going to leave you guys on a 30-minute for the SPY, and you can see if that's able to turn up for some kind of positive move, as we are still, well, actually, we're actually going slightly into negative territory. Thank you guys so much for watching today. Really do appreciate it. Thank you guys for liking and subscribing. You guys are fantastic about it, and I will see you guys on YouTube later tonight. Peace.